Fundraising is often seen as this aspirational milestone, a huge stamp of approval. You have a real company, a real product, a real business. So we see all the PR, press releases, the happy founders honored to share their round and what names that they can drop on their portfolios. But there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. So today I put together 5 lessons of things I wish I knew before I started fundraising and before I started my company. Lesson number 1. It's actually a lot less about your product. I'm talking about your first round of investing. So this is gonna be angel, pre-seed, maybe seed. The product that you're raising for is almost secondary to who you are, or at the very least, the story behind you and the product. There's of course the term product market fit, but at the early stages, what almost matters more is founder market fit. It's why are you investable? The chances are that early on, your product is actually gonna change a lot. And so the number one thing that investors are actually looking for is the story. They want to be sold on the vision, who you are, and why you're the right person to build this. Honestly, it's much more of a performance than you may think. And it takes a whole lot of confidence to go up there and to be like, I am the number one best person in the world to be building this. It can also be pretty frustrating because if you are starting a company, it's because you, I assume, fundamentally believe in the product, the problem, and the solution that you're building. And it's not that that's not important. Of course it is, because it's what motivates you and keeps you going. But ultimately, the strategic product roadmap or the features or the deep technical expertise that you apply to the solution don't always matter as much as they should. It's more about your ability to tell a story and seem investable. So if you are in the process of pitching, it's not necessarily just about showing what you've made. It's really about showing where you've come from and where you plan on going. And it's that overall arc that can be emotional, can just be incredibly inspiring to the point where people just want to give you their money, because at the end of the day, that's what fundraising, especially at that early stage, is. The risks are so high that those investors will ever see a return on it that they have to be willing to do it for you. All right, lesson number 2. Rejection. I guess that's not really a lesson, that's just a word, but basically rejection is super normal. It happens all the time. Rejection in this industry comes in a lot of different forms. There's going to be your outright rejection, we're not interested, which honestly is, out of the types of them, quite lovely. And then there's the rejection, which is the lead on rejection, which is like, oh, interesting, yeah, keep us up to date. Add us to your newsletter. Keep us in the flow. And this is really a soft rejection, and it's important to note the difference between this because you can get led on so long by an investor, and it makes sense if you think about it from their perspective. The more they can de-risk and the more they can keep that intro warm and that connection and, pull the trigger once they know that your company is about to take off, the better. Why wouldn't they do it? What's scary is taking that initial upfront risk. So I guess this lesson is kind of twofold. You're going to get more no's than yeses by like crazy margins, different orders of magnitude altogether. And you need to be able to spot the no that are sometimes pretending to be maybes. The no is also a tough balance because ultimately it's normal to get a lot of them. At a certain point, you do have to listen to the no's and understand, okay, maybe this isn't working in the way that I think it's going to be working, or why is it that this isn't hitting the way I expect it to be hitting? But you also just need to know that it's a numbers game. The chances that somebody else can see the same vision as you, when you are the founder, you thought of this idea from nothing. Finding another person who has that same vision as you, or that you can convince to see that vision in the same way, is pretty rare. Read the signs, but also have confidence in what you're doing. You're going to get a lot of no's. It's just the name of the game. Lesson number 3 is about selecting the right investor. Meaning the best investors are going to be people that challenge you and help you grow, but also deeply believe in you. If an investor doesn't believe in your problem or your solution, they're not right. Even if they're willing to participate in the round, if they genuinely don't believe in what it is that you're building or the problem space, then it's always going to have a friction point where they're going to want to adapt your product a little bit or change it or not necessarily buy into the vision that it is that you're selling. Conversely, though, you also don't want an investor that's just like, cool, good. Right, like as much as that is nice to hear and sometimes a rarity in this space, an investor's role, especially at that early stage, is to help guide, to inform, to leverage their network, and to challenge you and to help you understand how you can get your product to the next level. They shouldn't be belittling you as a founder, but they should be challenging your product to get to the best version that it can be at. Once an investor has invested in your company, that relationship is pretty sacred. But ultimately, raising capital is not just actually about raising the capital and the finances. It's really about finding the people that you want in your inner circle who are going to help you and your company, business grow and reach that vision that we all know that you have. Lesson number 4 is that VC funding does change the name of the game. Your product and your business and your company won't operate the same before and after. And so it's just something to take into account. It's not necessarily for everyone, but if it is for you and you know that this is the path that you're going to follow, things will change after you've fundraised. VC capital does not mean that you all of a sudden have freedom. It actually is when pressure starts a lot more. The whole I want to start a company because I want to work for myself really fundamentally changes if you have VC funding. The minute that money hits your bank account, your mindset shifts. And it has to. You're no longer just a builder and a creator. You have fiduciary responsibility towards your investors, towards potentially your employees. Honestly, it's almost a step away from the product. It's very difficult to be really focused on the end product when you're also focused on timelines and growth and KPIs that you owe to your investors. And by no means is this a reason not to raise. It's just something that I definitely didn't think of when I was starting a company. All right, and finally, lesson number 5. And this is definitely the lesson I wish I didn't include or have to include in this video, but I would be lying to myself if I left it out, which is lesson number 5. It's a boys club. It's real and it's exhausting. I was asked for my phone number more often than my financials. I was talked over, underestimated, interrupted. I'd sometimes go to founder VC events and be literally the only woman there. I'd start a conversation with a VC and know within the first few minutes that they were never going to take me seriously. And look, I've worked in male-dominated spaces for a long time. I worked in the fashion industry, which of course reduces you to your looks very frequently, but I just didn't expect that in this world. I didn't expect to be categorized as a female founder. I thought I was a founder. And I know that this isn't a unique experience. And it's just frustrating because sometimes it's pretty explicit in the way that it's done, but sometimes it's not. It's just the small little things that people maybe assume I'm non-technical or assume that I am doing something in beauty or an industry that they would expect to see me in. I had some VCs tell me that I should go look at the female only funds and stuff. And of course those are amazing and I support the work that they're doing, but ultimately I don't think my gender should have any part of the company I'm building. And I don't like to think that my fundraising experience would have been different if I was a different gender, but at the same time, I know it would have been. I learned a lot about fundraising for myself, for my company, for who I am today. It helped me gain a lot of confidence to be able to stand in a room in front of a lot of people I don't know and make it known that I belong there and talk like I knew exactly where I was going, which I think is a great life skill. That being said, I do think that there's a lot of misinformation and crowding in this space. People will claim that there's one way to fundraise, that this is the things you have to do in order to fundraise. And I think fundamentally, there's not just one way. Your story and your perspective is bound to be unique to the product that you're selling, and therefore your fundraising story is going to be unique to you. I guess I push back on a lot of the single ways of doing things, especially because you might recognize a pattern in the types of people who are saying that there's a single way to do things. And if you look different or have a different product than those people, then chances are that single way wasn't meant for you. So be creative in the process, but ultimately, it's your journey. I'm fundamentally not in the business of trying to tell people how to do something, but I do feel like information sharing is incredibly important. And so hearing about other people's experiences and being able to take those lessons, amazing. And if you made it this far in the video, I want to say thank you and good luck on your fundraising journey, whatever that may be. And feel free to share more in the comments below. If there's a specific part of fundraising that you want to hear more about, I'm happy to talk about it. And if you even want to share your experience, let me know.